Hi, everybody. So today we're going to talk about the new moon and what it's going to do with all the fire horse energies and everything. Kelley is has an amazing presentation for us today, so I'm really excited. And I feel like this is a big turning point we're going into.
Yeah.
So, how are you,
Yeah.
Kelley?
It takes me a little bit to get into gear in the morning,
Mhm.
because coming out of wherever, whatever is going on, is, okay, back to here's where we are. And we're in such a big shift energy that, we have to sort of calibrate where we're at, and choose our timeline, right? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I forgot to do this morning, which might be why it took me a bit to get into gear. And the barista had to sort of say, you know, something like, if you're only okay, maybe the day can get better, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I had to listen to him. Oh, goodness. Anyway, yeah, it's wild times, and um, we're getting ready to. I'm thinking of the fire horse as a wild horse. So we're gonna, be getting on that wild horse pretty soon. So we need to ground as fully as we can right now and get intentional. And that's
Mhm.
kind of, and I forget to do that sometimes, gotta say. So but let's get on board with that because that's going to help us a lot as we move along.
Mhm. Yeah, these are some massive energies that are happening. So February is a one major month, I would say.
A once in a lifetime.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Well, you want to look at the chart and
Yeah,
start in on
let's go
it?
for it.
Yeah,
Let's go
I
for
just
it.
want to make sure everybody sees my companion these
Poinsettia.
days. It's been the
Yeah.
poinsettia. This is the last video she's going to be on, or he's going to be on, because I'm going to be on my own fire horse and moving along geographically. So
Yeah.
here we go. Let me find the share. And where is the share?
Down at the
Oh,
bottom. There you go.
yes. But I don't see what I want to share yet. It's
Oh,
not, it's not here.
okay. Should I
Okay, okay.
pause?
No, no, I
No.
can bring it up pretty quickly if
Okay.
people stay with me.
Oh, yeah.
So, um, okay. All right, share. And are we good?
Yeah.
Yes, there
It's
it is.
happening. It's the
Okay.
unicorn. Yay.
Yeah, well, it's a version of the fire horse in a
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of way. Yeah, so all right. I'm not seeing how to move it along though. Oh no. Oh, okay. So okay. All right, here we go. Here's the beginning of the slideshow, and it's showing the Ring of Fire solar eclipse we're having on February 17th. Now, that's a new moon eclipse. So this is a new moon, and that's when the sun and moon are together, and the moon's shadow seems to, the moon's body actually can seem to go in front of the sun. And, I'm not sure we have a moon's body, but anyway, something is cast across the light of the sun, but that orb isn't big enough to cover the whole sun, so we have a ring of light around it. So it's like a
Mhm.
halo. And it's really my favorite eclipse because I love that ring, and sometimes the diamond ring with a special flash off one side. So it's at the end of Aquarius here. We've had quite a lot of Aquarian energy this last few weeks, and all the string of planets that has been going into Aquarius has been meeting up with Pluto and into the transformational energy in the new era. So we still have a bit of that left over here. And this eclipse is kind of finishing it up, so to speak. So the eclipse, and you know how I like to use the Sabian symbols, which are
Mhm.
images that accompany each degree of the zodiac. So this is 28 plus, and this particular image is a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis. which is such a beautiful image of transformation from the inside out. And it is kind of like this eclipse is representing also the Chinese New Year of the fire horse. So we're ending the year of the snake and we're still shedding a bit until this eclipse. So
Mhm.
there's the butterfly where all that cocoon is all a mush of meltedness. And then
Right.
the butterfly emerges. So this eclipse suggests that that's what's happening in the eclipse lunation because it's a whole month of energy and it culminates in a full moon total eclipse. So this is eclipse season. And this is, this is kind of where you hold on to the sides of the roller coaster. Unless
Yeah.
you just can't, and you're all ecstatic riding the energy, which is definitely fire horse. So there we have this. And let's dive a little deeper into it. There's quite a lot happening around the time before and after this eclipse. So one of the important things about an eclipse, come on, come on, didn't, yes, is the nodes of the moon, which we call the dragon head and the dragon tail. And it represents where the path of the moon crosses the path of the sun on either side of the sky. And at those times, the sun and moon and earth are all in an alignment where we can see eclipses. So the eclipse cycle lasts 18 or 19 years, and then it kind of resets. And it also indicates the dragon tail, what energy is coming in with us. Like this is a given, we're starting here. This is our starting point. And Virgo. So that's our bodies, that's earth energy. And we're taking this basic earth energy and fine tuning it because it's in Virgo. Virgo's like, likes precision, likes getting right on the dial so there's no static. And if there's like you're driving along and there's static on the radio, it's either because you're out of range and you have to go to a new channel or that, you're in a zone that you have to pass through quickly.
Hmm.
So we don't want the static and we want to really listen to our bodies because there's organic wisdom in every cell of the body that's really best to be listening to at this time to help make the changes we need to be making to be able to climb onto that horse and go with it. So that's the Virgo south node, the tail of the dragon. But when you're riding a dragon, you want to be riding on the head, which is over here. And this represents our collective leading edge of consciousness awakening, we could say. It's the collective, we're reaching for this. And it's in Pisces and has been for about a year now, actually. The nodes take about a year and a half to go through one set of signs that are opposite each other, which can complement. So when Virgo gets too fussy, Pisces goes, relax, have faith, go with the flow. And so we've been having a bit of that energy because there's no place else we can go right now except with the flow and to stay in the flow and not resist it. And then our bodies will let us know if we are resisting it, if our stress or tension level is too high. So this is when we might need more rest. We might need just, soaking in the bathtub or going in the sea or whatever that is that helps us relax. And when we have a planet on one of the nodes, like we do, which makes it even stronger, this is also Venus. This is Venus, which is also a major theme and major player in this eclipse. And Venus is love. Venus in Pisces is said to be exalted. It's compassionate. It's loving everyone, and we can do that on an unconditional level, on forgiveness and compassion. But that doesn't mean we have to be a victim or a martyr. It's like we are. this is a spiritual compassion for all, but sometimes that does require setting certain boundaries, that are healthy.
Hmm.
And, there's a lot about taking care of ourselves lately. And also Pisces is like a sponge. It soaks all the energy in, and we need to be very aware and careful and tending to our shape, our kind of energy shape so that we are not leaking or absorbing energy that's toxic, which is a big job these days not to be doing that.
Yeah.
So
I actually did a thing in Healing with Honey about that. That was this week's healing
uh-huh.
was how to protect your own energy and how to get rid of everybody else's
That's
energy that
exactly
was
it.
like, yeah,
Hmm.
because it's
That's
a
what we're
huge thing.
all learning more right now
Yeah.
through the Venus, which is about self-love, loving yourself. We don't love ourselves. We can't love other people. And as deeply as we do love ourselves is as deeply as we can love, but this is, again, from the inside out. So this is a very strong energy. And I have a Serbian colleague, Alexander Imsiragic, who's some kind of Persian prince and priest from the past, no doubt. And he has developed a way of describing the dragons of the eclipses.
Mhm.
Because in the eclipse, there are very long eclipse cycles in terms of like this eclipse is going to relate to an eclipse from 18 or 19 years ago and 18 or 19 years ahead. So he's looked at all these eclipse cycles. They're called Saros cycles, and they span thousands of years sometimes.
Mhm.
So this particular dragon of this eclipse is the karma dragon. And the karma dragon it's the male karma dragon. There's a male and female, depending.
Mhm.
Um, so this particular eclipse cycle started in the year 944 and
Wow.
goes until the year 2206. So this is how long an eclipse cycle can last. And it also means we're close to the end of this cycle.
Mhm.
There's, less than 100 years to go, considering that, it's over a thousand years altogether. So we're toward the end of this eclipse cycle. So the karma dragon is in charge of timelines and maintaining timelines of cause and effect so that they are manifest and have consequences that we live through. And then they can be done. So in a sense, we're going to have a strong shift of timelines in 2206. But here we are with an opportunity to work with this karma dragon. They are the guardians of time that serve for the concretization of reality and bring memories both from the past and from the future. So in this case, we can even date the future to that 2206 when this particular sorrow cycles ends, which is suggesting some long-term timelines are closing. And
Mhm.
this dragon is a Saturn dragon. Now, where Saturn is going to be very much a part of this eclipse because it's just moving back into Aries, the beginning of the zodiac, and meeting Neptune for the first time in quite a while, but
Oof.
at this pivot point of zero Aries. So we'll look at that in a minute, but I wanted to introduce you to this karma dragon. And and
I love that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it actually looks like so when you think about the future, when you think about where we're at right now and what's happening right now, and when you think about 2206, think about where we'll be by then.
Yeah.
That's when there will be no collective memory,
Oh.
probably, of the 3D anymore.
Oh,
Like,
that's so interesting.
so they will have let go. People will have
Uh-huh.
let go of 3D almost completely. And it'll
Uh-huh.
be like, not remember when, but you can find in the history book about 3D. Ooh, that was no fun. Glad that's, like, look what happened to those people. I think it's going to become like, it'll be part of the history that
Yeah.
people are shown. Um, but it feels so gorgeous. Like by the time we're in 2206, wow,
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I need to try something technically. Tell me what you're seeing when I do this, okay?
Okay. I
Did
see your
anything?
whole screen.
Oh, oh. Okay. I didn't want to quite do that, but I did want to get out the dragons and just show you. This is Alexander Imsaragic's like masterful book about the
Oh,
dragon.
awesome.
And there's several of them. There's one for each planet, basically. There's a golden dragon to do with the sun. There's a water dragon, which is to do with Venus. There's a magic dragon, which has to do with Mercury. That's my dragon. There's an eternity dragon that has to do with the moon. There's a karma dragon, which is the one we're looking at here, that has to do with Saturn. So, and here's that one line. The main role of these dragons is to maintain the durability and reliability of any action that is formed, and how they create paths for certain timelines, which are made of cause and effect law, and which constitute one reality of existence within our lives.
Mhm.
So there can be many timelines, but this one might be one that we're really having to attend to in some way. And it brings memories from the past and the future. So I like that we went to 2206 to see, where we might be by then. They're the paths which are created via the karma dragon are paths of reliability or paths of inevitability. So this can suggest a shift in the timeline,
Oh, yeah.
as a possibility in this one. And then there are angel dragons, which have to do with Jupiter, and they're core dragons. And there is a star core dragon that have to do with the planet Mars. And I think that one's yours, honey. The star core dragon.
Yeah.
Do you want me to share any of
Yeah,
that?
I feel like people may want to know what their dragon is too.
Yeah.
So that's
Hmm.
something that you can help them with if they are interested in that, if they want to know about their astrology.
Yeah.
They can learn about their dragon as well if they make an appointment with you. But yeah, I'd love to know about my
Yeah, I can
dragon.
introduce you to their dragon, but this is not my work.
Right.
Alexander Mitaragic
Well,
is
and we may
has
want to put the book below too so that
oh
people can
yes,
buy it. Yeah.
yes, yes. Let's see if this is it. Dragon families. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So we were at the Star Core Dragon. Um, and it's a Star Core Dragon if it's in the first 10 degrees of Aries. And that's where your dragon is. So it harbors the primordial need for freedom, which is based on self-honesty. This is how this particular dragon transcends the level of the other dragons and harbors the energy of Uranus, the awakener, the break free energy.
Mhm.
So that of transformation. So that is interesting right in itself because as we're going to see, this eclipse is very engaged with Uranus. So this energy is capable of connecting with the primordial cause of any reality and thus changing it in its seed form. So it's going back to the core, right? And changing that seed in some way, freeing one from the usual paths and patterns of behavior. In this way, this dragon creates new timelines and changes destiny, while in its ideal form, the destiny is connected with the heliocentric chart, which means the chart is as seen, the sky is seen from the sun. So it goes back to some soul, um, rather than your birth chart for this lifetime, it's more about the birth chart of your soul in a sort of sense from the sun.
Mhm.
Um, so if if the for a young soul, this would be really hard to handle, this star core dragon, and it would release a really huge amount of energy, which can be very destructive and very challenging. But when you're more of a mature soul, an old soul, the core dragon primarily functions within 5D reality, within the field of all possibilities, having the constant need to open up other and new possibilities within the 4D reality. And that's a great service to other people in the collective when you can do that. And the way you talk about things and how your higher self comes in, I never heard about timelines in the way that you talk about them. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. So I had something happen last night that could maybe kind of describe this to people. I had an astral experience. I woke up because I was annoyed by it. But basically, I was having this interaction with this gentleman who was indigenous, and he was dressed like normally. He wasn't like from the past and wearing, leather or anything, but he was indigenous. He was not really wanting to leave. And I was in this really big apartment. And I'm like, sorry, I'm going to go to bed now. So you're going to have to go. And so I locked him out. And then when I turned around, he was there again and his eyes were black.
Ooh.
And I looked at him and I was like, oh, you're my brother who's been being really naughty lately. And I'm just going to send you off.
Oh.
So I sent him, all of a sudden, there's no ceiling in this apartment. And I sent him up to be healed. And I said, I'm not putting up with that. And I gathered all these angels to come in and they just took him. So this is kind of, illustrates that behavior. It's like he had a timeline, and I think we've been griping with each other for a long time because we've been in polarity. So, we've been siblings and fighting with each other and all that kind of stuff. And he wanted to continue that. And I was like, nope, time for you to go heal. I'm not dealing with you that way. So it was really interesting. And he's completely healed at this point,
Oh.
because that wasn't the only part of him that ended up getting healed, but really interesting experiences in the astral plane.
Yes, definitely. And with a male that had kind of challenging energy, kind of spewing out in a way that wasn't of a highest timeline.
Right.
Like,
And I'm
like,
like, no.
okay. All right. Is
Yeah.
it distracting to be seeing more of my, um,
No,
because
I think it's fine if you can navigate it better that way, then just do it. Yeah.
okay, well, I want to bring up some other things that have to do with
Yeah.
the Sabian symbols. And looking at the Sabian symbol here, I had to include it because it has a horse in it. So when two things are so close together, they really claim a lot of attention because this energy is doubled, enhanced. So the degree for this dragon head with Venus is the race begins. Intent on outdistancing his rivals, a jockey spurs his horse to great speed, which sounds so much like the fire horse. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, we just want to make sure we're not going too fast, you know. that to some extent, the horse isn't galloping away with us, that we're able to keep pace with the speed of the dragon and direct it in a way that we can, we can keep up with. And again, intentionality makes a big difference here.
Hmm.
So, oh gosh, you're seeing my. And let's go on to the next slide.
Okay.
So here is the main pattern of the eclipse dynamics. So the eclipse energy, the new moon, right here at 28 Aquarius, is in a challenging dynamic and activation dynamic with Uranus. And any astrologer who's talking about this eclipse is talking about this. For one thing, Uranus rules Aquarius. For another thing, this is a dynamic activation. Uranus is really very present on this eclipse. And this is like breakthrough, break free, transformation, revolution. So it's even more about how unexpected can be coming up. Because Uranus is like lightning and it's like, what just happened kind of thing. And it might have to do with technology. It has to do with something about the changing systems. Uranus
Hmm.
has just turned forward. It was going back for a while, kind of going back over things and helping to kind of strengthen and deepen our grounding. And Uranus is like, okay, hope you're grounded now because we're really moving along here. And things are changing in a literal way. Taurus is a earth sign. It's happening. It's very obvious. There's no doubt about it. This is what we are experiencing. So again, keeping your body, working with your body to keep your nervous system, because this is highly electrical energy.
Yeah.
So, in Taurus, it's also referring to the global financial change because, and Venus does too, because Venus is a money planet. She's about value, she's about abundance, she's about beauty, she's about love, she's about joy, she's about all the good things in life. And Taurus likes all the good things in life.
Oh, yeah.
So we're leaning in that direction. That's where the horse is going to take us. So this does suggest some unexpected developments, at least on that front, and who knows what else. So
Hmm.
shock is another word for Uranus. It can be very shocking, explosive, and we had that other explosive thing going on. So we need to watch about that. So, there's Characlo, which I've introduced to our listeners in the past as the feminine energy of healing.
Hmm.
She's a half horse, half woman who married Chiron. And he is the shamanic healer, the male energy of healing. And she is the feminine energy of healing, which is her own way of kind of holding the space and energy for the highest outcomes, for the best possibilities. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to hold that and,
Yeah.
kind of allow that to emerge out of all of the possibilities. So this is part of the engagement of this new moon eclipse. Chariklo is right there, and she's interacting in a dynamic way with the black moon in Scorpio. So we've got a lot of very pronounced divine feminine energy here with the Venus activation, with Chariklo being so engaged with this new moon, and Black Moon is in Scorpio is a deep diver. It's very alchemical. It can really transform what
Hmm.
is, but you have to go down and rearrange the subatomic particles. You have to rearrange the energy at that seed level, at least in your um, soul essence, let us say, because the black moon evokes that soul essence. It wants you to be living your life from your soul essence and not your ego, not what people have told you, not your false identity. The black moon absolutely insists that you're coming from the soul source energy. and is going to get in trouble for you if you're not doing that because it wants to strip down to this soul essence. And that by itself can be changing the seed source of the energy.
Yeah. I mean, this feels really intense. Uranus feels like, you're at the school dance and Uranus is on the side next to you and you don't want to get on the floor. And your Uranus is like, yes, you can. And just like pushes you out there. And it's like, too bad you're doing it. That's what it feels like. And the black
Oh,
moon is
wow.
like, you better figure out like who you really are. And I think that's what
Absolutely.
is going on right now. Like it's all connected, like the snake and the letting go of the false identity, like it's all every single thing is pushing us to grow in an exponential way right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
huge.
I want to tell a quick story that I
Yeah.
heard about Marion Woodman, who was a well-known Canadian Jungian therapist who wrote a lot of books that were really about the divine feminine, and she was one
Mhm.
of the great teachers of that, and has passed. But she was telling a story about when she had a cancer on her spine, and she ended up in a wheelchair.
Mm,
And the doctor said, she was never going to walk again. And so she and her husband went to a music event that had a lot of accordion and was the music she grew up with. And she just couldn't sit still. So she ended up standing up in front of her wheelchair. And some guy came along and swept her away onto the dance floor. And her husband's like freaking out. And she comes back to that wheelchair afterwards and never stays in it again. I mean, she can use it, but she doesn't have to.
yeah,
So she's not stuck. It healed her in essence. So
yeah,
that's both. And she had Black Moon in Scorpio. So this is that profound change that Scorpio can really revive, from near death, kind of energy. And then the Uranus is surprise, it's like this
mhm.
was not expected, but it was all so it was a great story. I wanted to share that.
I
So
love that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so it is possible.
Hmm.
So then let's look at this. So this is, what is this? Okay. So this is part of this eclipse. Right after this eclipse, 3 days after this eclipse on February 20th, we have Saturn and Neptune are going to be exactly aligned, which hasn't happened for a while. I mean, they get together, but that it's at Aries. This hasn't happened for absolutely centuries at least. So, because it's the very first degree of the zodiac, and it's like a reset on a major level. And this is part of
Hmm.
what we've been talking about. This energy started clicking in at the end of May and in end of March and in April, May of last year. And then they went back into Pisces because we weren't ready yet. We weren't clear enough yet. We hadn't done enough work yet. But now they're coming together and it's like, ready or not, here we go. So, so this is where they are on the eclipse. Saturn moved in. Let's see, when did it move in? Saturn moved into Aries. Um, what day are we? Okay. Hmm,
Now we're on the 10th.
on the 13th, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, we're actually recording this on the 10th. So
yeah.
Saturn's to do this on Friday the 13th. Love
Oh,
it.
on Friday the 13th, that's so hilarious. So we'll air this in the morning on Friday the 13th so you can
Okay.
watch this show.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
hilarious.
This is the magic of the times,
This is
right?
like action packed, man.
I know. So the image in the middle is like from the sun. the heliocentric position. Helios is the sun, and we're centered in the,
Hmm.
the sun. So this is the way the orbits of Saturn and Neptune weave together over time, over their orbits. Isn't that, and they, all of the planets, we can see things like this that are the way their energies are geometrically, forming beautiful patterns. Look at this,
Hmm.
just wonderful.
Yeah.
So, so here is the Saturn Neptune. Again, it's exact on February 20th, and it's at 0 plus Aries. Now, we've looked at this before because Neptune went into Aries at the end of March, and Saturn went into Aries, I think it was May, it might have been April last year. So we've looked at this degree before. A woman has risen out of the sea. A seal is embracing her. And this is that famous story of the Selkie from Celtic mythology, and she's this is a seal, and she takes her seal skin off, and she's a woman. So
Yeah.
this is representing that this is her arising, and she is the seal, and these are her origins, but she can like temporarily not shapeshift, but become human. And
Mhm.
then she needs to return to the sea at some point. And the whole story is about how her husband didn't want her to go back and hid her seal skin. And she had to find it and repair it. And it's a whole process of how we renew ourselves, how we repair ourselves, and our true shape.
Mhm.
So this whole degree, this whole beginning of the zodiac in Aries, and is what also we use for spring equinox. 0 Aries is when in tropical, it's not the constellation that the sun is in, but it's the sign derived from the constellations that the sun is in on spring equinox, 0 Aries, which we consider to be the new year. So we're going to have a lot of New Year's this year. There are a lot of
Yeah.
different have different New Year's. It's very interesting. So
So
Aries is
interesting.
about, this is about fresh ideas and initiatives arising from the ocean, from the Pisces energy. We had to immerse ourselves back in there to find the seed we wanted, to find something core that was meaningful to us to kind of rise in. And in each moment, the energy is newly arising. And what's going to grab you? What's the star, falling into your hand? So it's about trying new and different things. It's about innovating and daring to do this. It's like, yeah, what you said about Uranus, it's going to push us right onto the dance floor. Go for it. Don't,
Hmm.
we're moving forward. And if we're having a little trouble, it's good if somebody nudges us. And it's also fire. It's about we're going into the fire horse. So this is the fire sign. What lights up your heart? How are you acting and speaking from your core, that black moon soul essence energy, your integrity, your soul, your sovereignty? So this is the insistence or the new door opening before us. Follow your highest excitement. The thing
Hmm.
that it can be a little like, woo, anxiety producing, but it's also like, hey, this is where the life force is. Go for it and be brave. It's a very courageous sign, Aries. It's about blazing a new trail. It's about jumping in. We've had time to look at the bottom of the swimming pool and how deep the water is. We don't even want to dive into a swimming pool anyway. We want to dive into the ocean. So it's very energizing energy. And here's some quotes I just love that I found when I was doing research on the Selkie. Dance like there's no one watching. Selkies dance because they must. And also a book that writes a beautiful version, shares a beautiful version of the Selkie story is If Women Rose Rooted by Sharon Blackie. And I dare say a lot of listeners will know that. she's a really excellent writer and has become very popular. So, yeah, she does a lot of remythologizing, revitalizing the myths. And she has a beautiful story about
That's
the,
good because they're real.
yeah.
Yeah.
When I somebody gave me this book, and when I opened it up, I opened right to that Islands of the Heart chapter that has the Selkie story in it.
Oh, fun.
So, so here's I'm giving a bit of a timeline that's leading up to this and then extends a bit farther. So on January 26th, just a couple of weeks ago, Neptune re-entered Aries. So that was a first step. The Selkie was rising. And then in February, oh, I forgot the date here. What is going on with you, Kelly? Forgot the date. Anyway, I think that might have been the 10th. Uranus turned forward. Oh dear. Anyway, not long ago.
You might have
Uh,
talked about that before we started. It might have been today,
okay.
this
Yeah.
morning, the
Uh-huh.
10th.
Um, it's the 10th.
Okay.
No, no. But
No.
anyway, it was very recently. Let's say it that
Okay.
way. Very recently. Oh, on the 3rd, February 3rd.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm
okay.
gonna can I put that in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it works, yeah, do it. There you
Okay.
go.
Okay. Creating as we go. And then this is the Friday the 13th into the 14th is when Saturn enters Aries, depending on what time zone you're in. So that's the next step. And this is Saturn. This is the this is the karma dragon planet. This is saying, okay, we're on it now. You know?
Yeah.
Because Saturn is about manifesting, it's about our experience. And we're going to start experiencing more clearly, more, I was going to say sharply, but I mean precisely like, whatever we're imagining is going to start manifesting fast. So this gets back to the necessity for intentionality and waking
Mm,
up and getting into a good timeline, a good kind of energy, right? With the Venus. Like, what's the best thing that can happen today? What's the best I can be today? The be best theme. So, and then we get to February 15th, and that's this coming, that's Sunday. And this is the main reason I wanted to do this video earlier is because of February 15th is Shivaratri, which is a huge Hindu festival that probably billions of people observe all around the world in honor of Shiva, who's the divine
mhm.
masculine. There's the Shiva Shakti energy, the divine masculine and feminine, which imply each other. There's never one without the other. So this is the
Right.
high divine masculine, what do they call it? The Great Father, something like that.
Hmm.
And he's about like the stillness of our core energy that is the 0 point energy. And the zero Aries is the 0 point. So it's a major Hindu festival and more about Shiva. What this is about is this is the one night of the whole entire year that Shiva opens his eyes. They're always closed except for his third eye, because he's the god of the third eye. And
Hmm.
he closes, he's always in meditation. He's said to be out in the high Himalayas, just meditating all the time. And this is the one night of the year he'll open his eyes. And if you're tuning into Shiva, he will grant anything you wish. He's, the divine giving father. So, and the ancient tradition of this holy day suggests that Shivaratri is a night when intentions carry extra weight. So, coming into this eclipse, getting clear on our intentions, coming into our stillness and allowing that 0 point, it's almost like the third eye can open. So this is the one night of the year that Shiva opens his eyes and responds to prayers and intentions. Om Namah Shivaya. This is that, and if you say that during the day, and the day actually it starts at like 3 in the morning on the 15th, wherever that is for you, and goes into the next um, like 24 hours, basically. And so, if you feel like trying it out and, saying Om Namah Shivaya during the day, that's like a direct line to Shiva. And you can also, any meditation you're doing, any vigil you're doing during the night. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I don't always, go into a spiritual space. Sometimes it's dreams. Sometimes I,
Mhm.
look at my device. But this is a night not to do that. This is a night to definitely work with your spiritual self, however you do that.
Oh,
So
love
yeah,
it.
this is a Shiva temple. This is a temple at a yoga center in India, and I just love how huge it is because he's like about space. He's about like ether, which is the fifth element out of which the four physical elements come. So he's in that kind of open space, which is quantum, which is, any possibility can emerge. So this is a spaciousness that is rare in the Hindu calendar anyway. And I feel like why not take advantage of it? And
Mm.
that is so close to this eclipse and this conjunction in Aries, the key, the point, the 0 point. So there's Shivaratri, and then 2 days later, there's the solar eclipse, which is the Chinese New Year of the fire horse. And I just realized last night it's Mardi Gras, another big,
Wow.
big holiday. And I looked up the history of Mardi Gras. They've been doing it in New Orleans since 1837, and it lasts much longer, like you can work with the Shiva energy in advance of that day. But the big, they call it Shrove Tuesday, the final day before Lent, where you let it all out and have a wild time before
Hmm.
for Lent, you give things up and all of that, if you're in that Christian school. And then right after that, Venus and Mars have been um, on either side of the sun, in the light of the sun and the life force. And they've been so close to the sun, we have not seen them for a good month or more. We've been seeing this thing go on for over a month, for weeks, and this is pretty unusual. Not that Venus is in the light of the sun and we can't see her, but that both Mars and Venus are doing this at the same time with the divine masculine and feminine, yet again, kind of feeling this rebirth in the light of the sun and the life force. So this is going to be like any time, depending on where you are in the world, where you will be able to see Venus just emerging from the light of the sun as the evening star. And in that personality, she has the morning star and the evening star. In her evening star personality, she's the goddess of love. So that Venus is basically coming, we're going to be seeing her out of this eclipse because she's in the light of the sun during the eclipse and on that eclipse point. So this is quite something too, I think, in the whole unfolding of things. And then a couple of days later, February 20th, the exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction. This is that turning point. This is like, you're getting ready to turn a corner, but this is when you're totally ready to go on that street
Hmm.
you've been turning into. And we've been turning into this new pathway since last spring.
Yeah.
And then on February 25th, 6th, before the next full moon, Mercury is going retrograde in Pisces. And
Oh my
that
God.
but Mercury retrograde can be very helpful And because, we if we're going too fast, we might realize it. We might be like, slow down. And also if your mind is going really crazy, this can be like, okay, I need to like, just rein it in here. I said rein it in purposefully. Um, but also it's like rethinking, okay, wow, we're in a new thing now. I have to rethink this.
Yeah.
What I was seeing, it doesn't look like we're on that kind of a path now. And let me just slow down and take stock and look around a bit and see where I'm at, and let the horse have a drink of water or something.
Mhm.
Also, it's going to enhance our dream energy. And it's like maybe even during the day, our mind is going to be in some other, layer or dimension or feeling our way into a new timeline.
Yeah.
Also, how important it's going to be not to get too involved in the drama out there.
Very.
It can be very disturbing to the mind, and we need to get it more in its highest frequency we can. When it's called dropping the mind, then mind drops down when you're, say, like meditating or feeling your heart energy, because we want the mind to come below the heart. The heart needs to direct the mind, and that's like who's driving the horse, who's got the reins in hand. And on this eclipse, we saw that Venus is the high energy. So we want really our hearts to be leading the way. And then the culmination in the full moon, which is going to be a total lunar eclipse on March 3rd. And so that is also pretty heightened energy, and Mercury's going to be retrograde. So let that eclipse open a door that maybe is coming more into focus as we are moving in to this new energy, which, we're still, remember a couple of times ago, I was talking about windshield wipers. We still might need to keep cleaning our windshield wipers so our vision is clear. And this Mercury retrograde is really going to help doing that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have to do that. I have a car, and it's parked under a tree which is dropping pollen. So every day I go out there and there's pollen on the car and on the windshield, and it's really hard for the windshield wipers to wipe it off. So I'm gonna have to take a sponge out there or something. So anyway, this is
Oh,
how we're really experiencing this energy in a literal day by day way. And let's use every day as we can. So this new energy coming in, um, this is a unicorn, a flying horse, but a fire horse, I don't know. What does yours look like? I could go with this one.
yeah.
Stardust, you know. So, and also I wanted to bring up this phrase, which is being used by um, the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, the CIA, which is a global astrology organization based in Australia. And they're talking about visionaries. Vision is Neptune, which is in Aries now. So
Oh,
I love it that we are becoming visionaries.
yes.
And this is for the next 14 years. We'll have Neptune in Aries.
Yeah. The next 14 years are going to be the most massive change that we've ever experienced as humanity. And by the
Mm.
time we get to that 2206 time period, it's going to be like, well, that was the last phase. And we're now in this beautiful, calm, more etheric type phase.
Mm.
And when you were talking about it, like it just came in as, an Avatar when they're like walking through the forest and it's nighttime. And if you take out all the violence and all the drama in there, it's truly like that, like everything's lit up. You can see the bioluminescence, and
Oh,
we have light too, the human
yes.
body is light.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to see that and experience the magic of the world. So by 2206, that's going to be normal.
Yeah. Here's
Yeah.
another little story to share. Speaking of bioluminescence, in some bodies of water, and when I was living in the Caribbean, I could see these sometimes. There's this bioluminescence that shows in the water at certain times of the year, and it's a kind of green glowy thing.
Oh, yeah.
And we were on a boat to watch the fireworks one July, and we were going in the water and coming back the ladder up onto the boat. And my friend has long blonde hair, and she came out of the water up this ladder to the boat, and the bioluminescence was just dripping off her hair. And
Wow.
that reminds me of that woman who rises from the sea, embraced by a seal. And in this point, she was just, like dripping bioluminescence.
Like a mermaid.
Definitely a mermaid. There were a lot of
Yeah.
mermen who lived down in the Caribbean. I met many.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
think my mermaid self came out too.
Yes. Yeah. I can see it. I mean, and that is like when we're further along, that's the point where we'll just be talking to them, where it's just like a normal interaction. Oh, nice to see you today. You just popped out of the sea. What's going on down there?
Yes,
It'll be
really.
normal. Yeah.
Yes, it'd be way good when we're not putting garbage in the ocean, huh?
Yes, it will. And I really think that we may get a bit of a comeuppance about that soon because I
Oh.
feel like it's time to stop doing that. And that will also help to switch some of the systems.
That's, the retrograde might be about that because it's
Oh,
back
yeah.
in Pisces, which is the energy of the sea, and it might be regurgitating, some garbage.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see how that manifests because we have some really beautiful, amazing beings that live in the ocean and they're tired of the plastic and the oil getting in there and there's just a lot of things that we do to the ocean that are really nasty. And I don't think that's going to be tolerated anymore. And there will be ways to deal with trash that come pretty quickly.
Yeah, aren't there some new little being that eats plastic?
There is a algae that eats plastic, and there's also frequency that can get rid
Oh,
of it. You can get rid of it with frequency, but I think we'll probably have an ET technology that probably comes in. And I don't think we're going to have any of the behaviors that we've been having where it's like, oh, well, I'll just do what I want and then I'll blame it on somebody else. Like that doesn't really feel like it's going to be tolerated anymore because everybody's going to see everything. The transparency will come from your intuition.
beautiful.
Yeah.
One of the traits that Aries on a, very immature level can behave is kind of selfishness. Like I'm doing my thing, I don't care about anybody else. But that's not the new way here. We need the compassion and the sensitivity for other people to be on number one, the highest timeline, but um, be clear within ourselves so that we're not inviting back those negative karmic consequences, but watering the seed of a finer timeline, if we can put it that way. Mm.
Yeah, we're at such a pivotal time right now, and February feels like it's the most pivotal. I don't
Yeah,
know what March looks like yet, but to me, it feels like we've hit the wall. Like things have happened already, and now we're kind of filtering. and figuring out the next thing. And I don't feel like people are going to be doing as much purging and all that kind of stuff. I feel like we're going to be done with that, a lot of it.
Well, this new moon eclipse finishes the snake year
Yeah.
and has a lot to do with the Pisces energy, which is the fine tuning and harmonizing. That's a Venus thing of the
Yeah.
body, which we're bringing into this, this eclipse in a way which is helping our body's intelligence be more activated and available, healing,
Mhm.
self.
Yeah, and the body, it won't just be the brain anymore that's an antenna. It will be the whole body.
Ah.
So honor your body right now because it's going to be doing a lot for you.
And thank it, appreciate it, because
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, oh my God, my body is taking so much time to
I
feed
know.
this and that. And it's like, yes, be biological, be organic, enjoy the texture, of your life
Yeah,
and body, and thank it, for being the vehicle that you're living your life in.
absolutely. I love that. That's a beautiful note to end it on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kelley. I'm so excited to see how this all plays out. It feels like the energies will be kind of beyond what we've ever experienced so far in this ascension process. So I'm excited to see what it looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much to talk about because it is such a big time. So I'm glad to be sharing it with you all.
Yes. And I'll have all of Kelley's links below. So if you want to visit her, if you want to make an appointment, everything will be down there. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Love you guys.